Hey you're watching a clip from the DynamiteGizmo podcast. This is not the full episode, but if you want to see the full episode, make sure to click the link in the description. And remember, like, comment, subscribe. Do it now. Here's the clip. Why being a backup fighter is so important? I want to start off with that. When it comes to the UFC, there's always backup fighters. Always, every single time. But why is it so important? Tom Aspinall was the backup fighter for Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Ian Gary served as the backup fighter for UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena. Arman Tsarukyan was the backup fighter for Topuria versus Oliveira. And now, we just saw that Caio Borralho was named the backup for Du Plessis versus Chimaev. Or so he claims that, anyway. And Yuri Prohaska is listed as the backup fighter for Ankalaev versus Pereira coming up. And Caio even made a hilarious sketch to announce it, which we're going to watch together right fucking now, dude. Oh.
Hey Hunter, I'm me. Count on me, bro. I see you in Chicago. Let's go! 1, 2, 3,
Huh? You see? Apparently, according to Caio, he is the official backup. All right? We thought it was going to be Imavov, but now I guess it is Caio. I don't know, though. That's just what he claims. Now, if you're watching from outside the UFC bubble, the term backup fighter might not sound that appealing. It kind of gives afterthought energy, like you're the emergency contact, not the star of the show, which is true to an extent. But in the UFC, being named the official backup fighter is a massive honor. And in some cases, it can literally change your life overnight. You see, in boxing, this concept barely exists. When two boxers sign a contract, they train, they show up, and they fight, cancellations are rare. But in MMA, that's a whole different story. Between the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the striking, the kicks, the submissions, the arm bars, the slams, all of it, injuries in camp are very common. So from the UFC's perspective, whether it's Dana White or Hunter Campbell or the matchmakers, an injury to a main event fighter is an absolute nightmare. It risks ruining the whole card, you disappoint fans, you lose ticket revenue, you wreck pay-per-view sales, and piss off venue partners. That's why the role of a backup fighter is no small deal. It's actually insurance for the entire event, and it's so necessary because it's very, very often that events get canceled because of injuries, and they need a backup fighter. But here's what makes it even more intense. Being a backup fighter means going through a full training camp, doing the weight cut, traveling, and being ready for a full fight, all while knowing there's a good chance you don't fight and might not even get paid your full purse. You've got to be mentally locked in, physically prepared, and still accept that you might just be shadowboxing in the locker room while the main event is happening. And not just anyone gets this call, by the way. The UFC doesn't just grab the next guy in line. They want someone dangerous, someone marketable, someone the fans are going to go nuts for if they have to step in. For the most part, I mean, we saw that Money Moicano had to step in to the main event at the beginning of this year when Arman Tsarukyan couldn't get the fuck in there. But that's why Tom Aspinall was a perfect backup for Jones versus Miocic. And let's be honest here, people. A lot of people, including myself, were hoping Stipe would just fall out just to see the Jones versus Aspinall fight that we've all so desperately wanted. But we'll never get it now. But we've seen plenty of short notice chaos in the UFC. Okay, remember UFC 303 just last year? 4 hours before the co-main event, Ortega dropped out because he was sick or some shit. I can't remember. And Dan Ige stepped in on 4 hours' notice to fight Diego Lopez. That's not even a backup fighter scenario. That's just a Wild West fucking MMA situation. But it shows how important it is to have someone already there, already in fight shape. Even Leon Edwards made it known at UFC 286 that he was ready to step in if something happened between Usman and Covington. And more recently, Kamaru Usman stepped in at UFC 294 when Paulo Costa pulled out last minute against Chimaev. He didn't win that fight, but the fact that a former champ was willing to step in with no camp shows the kind of chaos MMA breeds and why backup fighters matter. Now back to Caio Borralho. He's already scheduled to fight Nasruddin Imavov on September 6th in Paris. A fight that will decide the next title challenger. And by the way, at the beginning of this episode, you saw Mauricio Ruffy's on that card too, against Benoit Saint-Denis. That's gonna be a sick matchup, dude. Anyway, back to this. But now Caio is flying to UFC 319 in Chicago on August 16th, just 3 weeks before his Paris fight, to be the official backup for Duplessis versus Chimaev. If something happens to either Dricus or Khamzat, Caio's stepping in. And if he wins, he would be the first fighting nerd to win UFC gold. But if UFC 319 goes as planned, he fights Imavov, and then, assuming he wins again, he'll likely challenge for the title sometime in early 2026. But you see how fast the timeline could change out of nowhere. And the funny thing is, Imavov is ranked number 1 in the division after beating Adesanya. You'd assume he'd be the backup. And from what we have heard, he was supposed to be, until he reportedly refused to fight Caio at International Fight Week. And now Caio, ranked number 6, is getting both the Paris main event and the backup spot at UFC 13. So sometimes it's not about who's next on paper. It's about who's available, who's willing, and who's making the biggest noise. Okay? Very typical scenario for the UFC. And just like Ian Gary, Caio Borralho, he's speaking it into existence for months, manifesting it, pushing for it, and eventually got named the backup. Just like Ian Gary was for UFC 315. It's not just skill, it's timing, it's momentum, it's being vocal at the right time. That's what makes this role so wild. There's no guarantee you'll even fight, but if you do and if you win, that one opportunity can catapult you into fucking stardom, dude. So next time you see a fighter post that they're the backup, don't just brush it off. They're not just in case. They're one twist of fate away from everything changing. Okay? When you see someone signed up as the backup fighter, especially for a main event, a title main event, anything could happen, literally right up till the last second. Look at the Aaron Blanchfield card. They got all the way to the main event. They were doing the walkouts, and they had to cancel the event because I don't remember if it was Blanchfield or her opponent, one of them. I didn't watch the card. It was the only card I haven't watched this year because it was so shit. But she didn't come out because she fainted. Anything can happen. Literally right up until the last second. So you have to you have to be ready for that. So when someone's the backup, you're like, okay, there's a very good chance that this could be the person who's fighting for the title. Now let me throw some questions your way. What do you guys think? Should backup fighters always get a flat rate pay for showing up, even if they don't end up fighting? And if you were Dana, would you go with the most technically sound fighter or the one with the biggest fan buzz as your backup? Let me know in the comments below, you fucking animal.